kidnap 1,000 children before I let this company die.
For millennia, children and adults alike have been terrified of what lies in the darkness. While adults can convince their minds there's nothing there, there's nothing to be scared of, children are unfortunately not so fortunate. They remain haunted by whatever creeps in the shadows, kept at bay only by the nightlight in the corner, or their tiny little blankies pulled over their tiny little child faces. In this episode of Weird Reviews, we are going to be taking an in-depth look into the film, Monsters Incorporated. Monsters Incorporated follows the story of Mike and Sully, two lovable average Joe monsters. In the world of Monstropolis, the city is powered by the screams of children, and Mike and Sully are the best at capturing those screams. This is a very brave job because children are supposedly toxic to monsters. However, after a child, Boo, escapes into the world of Monstropolis, Mike and Sully realize everything may not be what it seems to be. And indeed, nothing is what it seems to be. In this video of Weird Reviews, I will be exposing the monsters behind these monsters for what they really are. Monsters. Predators. Sexual predators. They're molesting children. Oh, what, you don't believe me? Hey, let's take a look at the facts, okay? It's Hollywood. Everybody's molesting everybody. I got to, I was a janitor at one of the red carpets. Evil Longoria popped a thumb up my butthole. As I said earlier, in the world of Monsters Incorporated, we learn very early on that children are supposedly extremely toxic to monsters. So much so that whenever a monster makes contact with the sock of a child from its room, the government bursts through the windows, shuts down the entire scare floor of the only power factory in the entire world. They straight up hurt locker the sock, and then they take this poor beast that is Chris Christie stuck in the middle of anamorphing into a caterpillar, shave him down to the skin, force him in a chemical shower, and then just throw him out. You know what that sounds like to me? Sounds like the kind of regulations that the Democrats are trying to force on the fair, freedom-loving, responsible gun owners, such as myself, in this country. Hey, you know what, Hillary? Instead of trying to take my freedom, how about you tell us about, Benghazi, maybe? More like Boygazi. Tell us about all these child sex slave rings that you got underneath all your pizzerias, huh? Huh, Hillary? What about those? Ugh. I blacked out for a second. I really hope I didn't mention the child sex slave ring. So we'll move past that, pretend that whole bit didn't happen. So contact with a child is supposedly a death sentence, essentially, for these monsters, yet, as the heroes Mike and Sully soon learn, children aren't actually toxic. But the thing is, Mike and Sully aren't the only two monsters to know this. Throughout the film, we see Randall, Water Noose, and Fungus all carry Boo around without a worry. They're not the only monsters to know children aren't toxic. And it's not like they're the first to discover it. I guarantee that's not the case. By the way, non sequitur here. I'm going to prove my point, but this should be proof enough here. You're telling me this fucker's not diddling kids. This guy. His name is Fungus. Trying to tell me that he's not touching kids. Yeah, what's next? This guy's not touching kids? So where did this myth come from, that children are AIDS? Well, that's simple. And if it's not blatantly obvious to you, well then you're a moron. This is the end of the video. Sorry. I'm just kidding. I mean, you are a moron because it's so obvious, but I'll explain it to you. I know how to speak on your level. So in the film, we learn that the city of Monstropolis is having a little bit of a power crisis. The CEO of Monsters Incorporated, Water Noose, blames it on the fact that human children have just become desensitized. They don't get as scared as easy because of whatever they see on TV. I'm not buying that. You know, I'm not feeling that now, Mr. Krabs. Hashtag dank meme. That's the same sort of logic that people use whenever they say, like, oh, well, these kids brought a gun to school because they watched violent movies or play, you know, the Grand Theft Autos. I don't think that kids aren't getting scared anymore. Once again, let me bring this dude back up. You're telling me if this motherfucker came out of your closet at 1:37 a.m., you wouldn't wake up and just fucking shit your pants so hard that your neighbor's down under would taste your down under? Huh? I mean, like, you would shit your pants so hard that it would, like, the force would, it would projectile through your bed, through the floor, break through, you know, the crust, mantle, core of the earth, burst out the other side of the earth, and then hit somebody in the face in Australia. Therefore, somebody from Down Under, which is like a saying for Australia, would taste your Down Under, which is a play on the code name for Australia, because in this case our butts are the Down Under. I believe the reason for the lack of power and shortage of screams is not because human children are becoming desensitized. I think it's because the methods of capturing these screams changed. I think that they changed their methods from molestation to just trying to give these kids a simple spook. You're probably not completely on board yet. Let me continue to explain. To understand this theory, we need to take a look at our own past. Tales of creatures and things that go bump in the night date all the way back to the dawn of man, as evident by the cave drawings from our ancient monkey ancestors. But are these tales indeed
Just tales?
Reports of monster sightings have continued to grow alongside man, or should I say,
Had continued.
in the 20th century, thanks to advancements in modern technology, man was able to carry portable cameras in order to record the sightings. Famous photos include creatures such as our furry distant relative Bigfoot, the evasive Loch Ness Monster, and the nauseating Marty Feldman. However, conveniently, these monster photos have become more and more rare. So many joke that the reason that there's less and less photographs is because the common man now has a high definition camera in his pocket at all times, and it's becoming more and more difficult to fake these photographs, to which I say, good sir, no! Monsters are too real! They have always been real! And if you disagree, well, then you probably have herpes. You probably have herpes on your butt. But that is not the point that I'm trying to prove. I mean, if you're one of these idiots that doesn't believe in monsters, then you're one of the same idiots that doesn't believe in Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny, ever heard of him, or Donald Trump's ability to make America great again. MAGA! Bigly! Centipedes! I still don't know what centipede means. As man evolved and began to develop more high-quality cameras that could photograph these monsters in a much more clear definition, they became aware of the fact that they were getting too close for comfort. They knew that if humans could prove that they existed, they would be hunted. Oh wait, you don't believe me? Let's take a look at Toy Story and see what happened to Sully after he became too close with Boo. Look at that! He is a goddamn decoration for a shitter. Sully is now the mouth that holds in the messy, explosive farts of people. Also, these monsters have been molesting us for thousands of years. They know what happens when we go somewhere new. We go there, call it our own, murder everybody there, and then we make a holiday out of it. So Waternoose's family, who has not only been running the largest power company in Monstropolis for several generations, but seems to be running the only power company at this point in Monstropolis, also seems to act as the government of Monstropolis. So we see that, you know, they're all talking about how toxic kids are. It seems that they're just probably spreading propaganda to the rest of the citizens. You know, what's the one way that they're gonna keep all these horny monsters off of kids? They're gonna say, hey, look at that. That kid's got, monster AIDS. He's got some form of AIDS that only affects monsters. Don't Don't fuck them. Hey, the Reagans tried it with gay people. It's not that crazy to think. Happened in our own America. Woo! Bottoms up for all these kids getting fucked by, monsters. So I know what you're thinking. You're saying to yourself, well, Patrick, that's all fine and dandy, but why do you think these monsters were molesting kids in the first place? Where did you first get that idea in your head? Let's take a look at the obvious tips that they drop for us throughout the film. Early in the film, we see Mike and Sully talking to a friend Ted, who is this gigantic creature. And all we see is his scaly lizard legs. A giant monster with scaly lizard legs. Ted's Godzilla. Godzilla attacks New York City. Who's another creature that attacks New York City? The monster from Cloverfield. The sequel to Cloverfield, 10 Cloverfield Lane, stars John Goodman, who gets a little molesty with one of the other lead actors. And who voices Sully in Monsters Incorporated? John motherfucking Goodman! Next! Let's take a look at the scare report near the beginning of the film. This is a report of a young boy a monster looks at before they go to scare him. It says his name is Albert Lozano. We zoom in over here. We see it says he is likely to become an artist. Artists typically suffer great tragedy during their childhood. Perhaps molestation. Or what it says he's scared of snakes. Like trouser snakes. And then it says adjust for D-range. Do I even need to explain that one to you? So are these just simple statistics behind a boy's report? Or does it go deeper? Well, if we take a look at Boo's report near the end of the film, it has the exact same info, right down to the name, Albert Lozano. So is this just lazy production design? Perhaps. Perhaps not. Just who is Albert Lozano? A quick Google search tells us that Albert Lozano was a production designer on Monsters, Inc. However, he's also worked on other films aimed at children, such as Up, The Incredibles, Finding Nemo, etc., etc. But just who was he? Before he... You motherfucker. But who was Albert Lozano before he designed the films that our families know and love? He was the goddamn pervert behind Weekend Pussy Hunt! I mean, this shit's got a dog raping a leg, then that leg gives birth to, like, dog foot babies. You got a cat smoking a cigarette with its puckered asshole, a cat with some titties. I mean, we even got a cat covered in dicks, ladies and gentlemen. So now for the final, piece. Dick La Resistance, however that saying goes. Take a look at this clip from Monsters, Inc. Mike and Sully are in the locker room. Now look what's by Mike's butt. Locker 369. Take away the 3, what do you get? You get 69. You got a 69 by Mike Wazowski's asshole? Are they telling kids that they should 69 Mike Wazowski's butt? Thank you for watching this video. The point behind it was, anybody can think of a ridiculous conspiracy theory. That doesn't mean they're smart because they pull out things from their asshole. Smash that motherfucking like button! Share this shit with your, aunts, your uncles, with your kids, your pets, your grandparents, your great-grandparents. I don't care if they are dead. You dig up their ground, open up their coffin, you say, Ryan Reynolds, what are you doing in here? Shove it in his face!